Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a wealthy king named Midas. King Midas was very rich. He had beautiful palaces, gold coins, piles of jewels, expensive clothes, and everything else that one could wish for. But despite having so much wealth, the king was not happy. You see, no matter how much he spent, it never seemed enough. He would watch common folk walking by his palace and think to himself, "How can they be happy without any money? If only I had more money, then I would be happy." This made King Midas extremely greedy. One day, while walking through the forest near his palace, he came across an old man sitting on a nearby stone. The king asked him, "What are you doing?" The old man replied, "I am waiting for someone to pay me my dues. I worked for them last year and I've been waiting for my payment ever since, but they have never returned. I am so hungry and thirsty. Would you please give me some food and water?" The old man looked weak and hungry. So the king said, "Of course," and ordered his servants to bring food and water for the old man. After the old man ate and drank his fill, the king asked him, "What can I do for you?" The old man replied, "Oh, great king, I am a servant of the gods, and you have done a good deed today by helping me. So I will grant you a boon. Ask for anything, and it shall be yours." The king thought for a moment and said, "I already have everything except for one thing. I want everything I touch to turn into gold. If I had this power, then I would have more money than anyone in the world." The old man warned him, "Oh, king, be careful what you wish for. This boon is both a blessing and a curse." The king, however, did not listen and insisted that he wanted the power to turn everything he touched into gold. So the old man waved his magic wand and said, "As you wish," and with that he disappeared. The king was overjoyed. He ran to his palace and touched his arm. It immediately turned into solid gold. He touched his throne, which also turned into gold. He touched his wife and children, and they became golden statues. All the food in the kitchen turned into gold, as did all the wine in the cellars. In just a few moments, the entire palace had become a mountain of gold. The king was so happy that he danced around his golden palace, shouting, "I am the richest man in the world! Ha, 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 ha!" But after a while, he began to realize that being the richest man in the world was not all that it was cracked up to be. You see, now that everything he touched turned into gold, he could not do anything. He couldn't eat or drink because all the plates and goblets turned into gold as soon as he touched them. He couldn't even scratch his nose because every time he touched something, it turned into gold. Not only that, but the king was trapped inside his palace because he couldn't open the gates. They were made of gold. He tried to call out for help, but no one could hear him because the walls were now made of gold, and sound couldn't travel through them. The king was terrified. He had never imagined that his life would become so miserable. He cried out, "Oh, great old man, please come and help me." But the old man was nowhere to be found. After a while, the king calmed down a bit and started thinking about his problem. He realized that his greed had made him so unhappy that even the gods had abandoned him. What was he going to do now? Just then, he remembered that the old man had said that his boon was both a blessing and a curse. Perhaps there was a way to undo it. So he said, "If turning everything I touch into gold is a curse, then maybe the opposite of that could reverse the curse. Maybe if I touch something that is not gold, it would return to normal." The king quickly touched a stone, but it turned into a golden statue instead. Then he noticed something strange. When he touched the statue, it didn't turn into gold. Instead, the gold started coming off his hand. He tried it again and more gold came off. The king was so happy. He touched another statue and more gold came off his hand. He touched another statue and most of the gold came off. With each statue, more and more gold came off his body until he was completely free of the curse. The king looked around him and saw that everything was still made of gold. He picked up a golden apple and started eating it. It tasted like the sweetest apple he had ever eaten. He picked up a goblet and poured some wine into it. The wine tasted like nectar. He looked at his wife and children, who were still standing there in their golden form. He touched his wife, and she immediately returned to her normal form. She was so happy to see that the curse had been lifted. The king then touched his children, and they too returned to normal. They hugged their father and were so grateful that he had brought them back. After the king touched his son, he noticed that the golden palace around them was disappearing. As he watched in amazement, his palace slowly started to rebuild itself with new and beautiful rooms. The golden throne returned to its original form, and the golden goblets and plates returned to their places. In the kitchen, the food reappeared and the wine reappeared in the cellars. Everything that had turned to gold during the curse was now returning to its normal form. The king was so happy. He had learned a very important lesson that day. He realized that being greedy and selfish would never make him happy. He had been so focused on getting more and more gold that he had forgotten what truly mattered in life: his family, his friends, and his people. Now that he had experienced how horrible it felt to be trapped inside a golden palace, he knew that he would never, ever wish for such a curse again. The king immediately started making amends with everyone he had wronged in his quest for more gold. He paid back the old man his wages and even gave him a much larger sum for his trouble. He also apologized to his servants for the way he had treated them and promised to never do it again. In fact, from that day on, King Midas became the most generous and kind ruler in the land. He built hospitals and schools for the people and helped the poor and needy as much as he could. He even hosted feasts inviting the wisest and kindest people from all over the world. And everyone was invited, from the greatest kings to the smallest peasants. Now, even though King Midas was no longer greedy, he still loved gold. And there was nothing wrong with that, because gold, when used wisely, can bring happiness to people. So he used his wealth to build beautiful temples for the gods and decorate them with gold, because that brought happiness to the people. He also used gold to make magnificent works of art that everyone could enjoy, and that, too, brought happiness to the people. Most importantly, King Midas shared his wealth with everyone, and that brought happiness to the people. That is how King Midas, who once craved more and more wealth, became the happiest king in the land. The end. There are many other stories like this in which the main character learns an important lesson. If you would like to hear those stories, click here. Also, if you want to share your story with the world, you can write it in the comments below, and I will publish it for you. Thank you.